The story kicks off with the protagonist adjusting his glasses as he walks through a street crowded with girls from a nearby school. Feeling uneasy, he wishes to go home, but is waiting for someone. Suddenly, he cries out in pain. Someone hits his shoulder and calls his name, Daiki, loudly. Holding the sore spot, he adjusts his glasses and shoots Wakaba an annoyed look. She laughs, apologizes casually, and suggests they go to the riverbed. With a playful grin, she adds that if he loses today's game, he owes her a treat. Still irritated, he quickly replies that he won't be losing today. A few minutes after reaching the destination, Wakaba excitedly reminds him about the treat. He looks at her, annoyed, his childhood tomboy friend who always acts like a naughty little brother, overconfident about winning. After getting the treat, she walks happily with a full stomach, while he checks his wallet, worried he's already short on money this month. Annoyed, he decides to play a game he's good at next time. But noticing the sudden silence, he looks around. She's gone. Turning back, he sees her eyeing another store, up to more trouble. He comes back and leans toward her, asking if she's still not satisfied after eating. Wakaba, clearly annoyed, denies it. While she glances at some clothes, he softly asks if she likes them. As she steps closer beside him, he steps back, thinking it's normal for girls. Still, he suggests she at least try some on. They might suit her. But since she's sweaty, she refuses and snaps at him for suggesting it, insisting she's already beautiful. He gets annoyed by her overconfidence. Then she suddenly challenges him to meet her on Sunday, saying she'll wear something more girlish and pretty. He's unimpressed, but she walks toward the shop door, again reminding him to meet her Sunday. When he suggests she wear it now, she explains she's saving it for Sunday, planning to watch zombie movies with him. On Sunday, he stands around, annoyed, thinking about Wakaba's usual overconfidence. But when she shows up in a cute, girlish outfit, he's caught off guard, so much so that he nearly drops his glasses. She teases him for arriving early, saying he must have been desperate to see her like this. Embarrassed, he adjusts his glasses and compliments her. She accepts it with a proud smile, secretly pleased after all. She'd spent 2 hours getting ready. They remember nothing of the movie afterwards. The next day, he's having breakfast, annoyed as Wakaba keeps ringing the bell and shouting that they'll be late. Irritated by her usual loud, tomboyish behavior, he opens the door, but freezes when he sees her in a girlish school uniform. She, unaware of his reaction, cheerfully urges him to hurry, saying they'll have to sprint to school. He doesn't really hear her, too mesmerized by how cute she looks. Snapping out of it, he quickly fakes an excuse about forgetting something at home and steps back inside. Now sitting in class, he recalls how she teased him the other day about being interested in her. Nervously adjusting his glasses, he worries she might scold him if she notices his feelings have changed, or worse, that it could all be a setup to laugh at him. But then he remembers he was the one who teased her first, suggesting the girlish outfit might suit her. Still, if her goal was to mess with him, she would have done it already. Yet on the way to school, she hadn't said a word about it. While the teacher delivers the lecture, he keeps spinning his pen, lost in thoughts about her. Maybe she has stylish or skilled friends who do makeup, and she's just influenced by them. But then a wave of panic hits. What if she changed for a boy? He quickly remembers how she always wore a jersey in middle school to avoid any extra attention. That thought calms him, realizing it's probably not for a boy. After school, Wakaba feels puzzled as her friends happily invite her to sing karaoke, an outing arranged by Fujita-senpai and the whole group. When she looks at them, even the boys smile and wave at her. She immediately declines. Even when they insist she join just for today, she softly apologizes, saying she has something important to do. The girls, clearly disappointed, slowly walk away. In the girls' washroom, she almost decides to go out in her girlish look, but then remembers how uncomfortable Daiki seemed with it. So she ties her hair back, applies just a bit of lip balm, and smiles, happy to see herself back in a totally boyish style. At the ground, he calls her. When she arrives, slightly out of breath, he irritably reminds her she's late. Standing on a football like a boy, she teases him, acting like she'll win but generously offers him warm-up time. Frustrated, he asks if she has nothing better to do than beat him every day and make him buy her treats as a penalty. With a teasing smile, she playfully apologizes and throws the ball. He yells, annoyed, telling her not to start the game without even informing him. At home, Daiki is eating snacks when his mom asks him to take a delivery box outside. Though annoyed, he refuses at first, but finally gives in when she insists, saying he's free anyway. He reluctantly opens the door and steps out, only to freeze in shock as he sees Wakaba-chan walking down the corridor in a totally boyish outfit, wearing a hat. Still surprised, he watches as she gives him a thumbs up and casually says she's heading to the convenience store because she's craving fried chicken while studying. Worried, he points out that it's already 10 p.m., but as she waves and walks off, he suddenly steps beside her. She looks at him, puzzled, and he awkwardly claims that after hearing her, he's also craving chicken. Surprised, she walks ahead and warns him she's not treating him, though he sighs as he always ends up paying for her. Proudly, she says that if he wants a treat, he has to do the impossible, beat her in something first. He groans, annoyed at her stubbornness. At the grocery store, she buys food for 762 yen. On the way out, she adjusts her hat and apologizes to him for waiting, saying it's his turn to buy. Flustered, he admits he forgot his wallet. Annoyed, she scolds him for even coming along without it. While walking with her, he feels nervous. Ever since seeing her in that girlish outfit on Sunday and again in the morning on the way to school, he's been uneasy. Even now, as she keeps hiding her face, he feels uncomfortable too. To break the silence, he casually asks for one piece of chicken, but she refuses. When they arrive at her apartment, he's confused when she tells him to wait. A minute later, she opens the door with a big smile and offers him ice cream, teasing and scolding him for being an idiot who forgot his wallet. Then she waves and says she hopes to see him tomorrow. Holding the dessert, he walks into his home, heart pounding loudly. Flustered and adjusting his glasses, he's still dazed by how cute she looked in that bright outfit. His mom scolds him for being so late and asks about the delivery. Only then does Daiki realize he completely forgot it. Meanwhile, back in her room, Wakaba lies on her bed, hiding her face in embarrassment, realizing she hadn't worn any makeup. The next day after school, her three friends excitedly ask if she wants to join them for frappes. She immediately smiles and apologizes, saying she has something urgent to do. Waving goodbye, she promises to go with them next time. As Wakaba walks away, Momo stares at her back, suspicious and gloomy. She never goes out with them. Calmly eating her Pocky sticks, Akko guesses maybe Wakaba has a part-time job. Momo, still annoyed, says if that's true, she should have told them. Still unsure, she wonders aloud if it's some kind of secret job. Getting carried away, Momo even asks if it's something shady, like getting money or goods in return, like a mule. Curious but more serious, Akko softly asks if Momo's planning to spy on her best friend. Momo quickly denies it, sadness in her voice. She just wants Wakaba to share things with them, because they're friends. Akko, smiling gently, tries to calm her down, saying maybe Wakaba just has a boyfriend, and since they're all single, she's hiding it to avoid hurting their feelings. Akko, eyes gleaming with curiosity, playfully crumples her shirt and suggests they spy on Wakaba if she's hiding something. The girls agree and take turns tracking her through the streets. Momo grows suspicious and nervous about losing her but snaps to attention when someone calls her name. Though tired, the three keep following, peeking around corners. Seeing Wakaba just wandering casually, they start whispering theories. Maybe she had a fight with her boyfriend. They secretly follow her to the convenience store. When she comes out carrying bags full of meat, they immediately assume she's stress eating after a breakup. Akko quietly guesses Wakaba might be hurt but pretending to be fine. Wanting to cheer her up, they decide to call out to her, but are stunned when she suddenly sprints away. A few minutes later, the three stop at a bridge, panting and exhausted. Akko, drenched in sweat, decides to grab something cold. With no sign of Wakaba, they finally head home. Meanwhile, under the bridge, Wakaba angrily scolds Daiki for being late. He's out of breath, having rushed over after extra classes, stomach growling. He even skips soccer for this. Blushing, Wakaba hands him the meat as a treat for working hard. Shocked, Daiki adjusts his glasses, unsure if she's serious. Annoyed, she says she'll take it back if he doesn't want it. He quickly grabs it, saying he'll eat it. Now sitting on the bench together, he smiles, realizing all the food was bought just for him, because she knows he loves meat. The scene transitions to the past. Back then, Daiki was so shy and uncomfortable around girls that Wakaba chose to act like a tomboy just to make him feel at ease. From that day on, she shaped herself into someone he could comfortably be around. When she was 5, they had once excitedly set out to catch bugs. Upon reaching their destination, they saw 2 girls screaming in fear as a bug landed on one of their dresses. Wakaba calmly picked it up with her bare hands and showed it to them, thinking it was harmless. But the girls, terrified, begged her to throw it away. Sitting like a boy on a bench, she had laughed and teased them for being scared of something so small. When he laughed and shouted that she was a girl too, she brushed it off without concern. Later, Daiki had casually commented that she felt more like a boy, someone easy to talk to. Wakaba had been surprised by that but quietly smiled, her face slightly red. As she grew older, the act remained. At 13, she still behaved like one of the boys. One time, while walking with Daiki, she had loudly teased a couple ahead of them, calling them out for being overly affectionate, much to his embarrassment. But what struck her more was overhearing the couple talking cheerfully about a cute cafe. That casual moment stuck in her memory. The next day, they visited the arcade. Wakaba eagerly played a zombie shooting game, hoping to win something fun, while Daiki looked uneasy, worried he didn't have enough money. As she played, Wakaba felt a wave of quiet sadness. Deep down, she also wanted to go out with him on a real date. But sensing his discomfort around girls, she chose again to act like a boy to preserve their friendship. By the time they were 15, things hadn't changed. Daiki still treated her like a guy. He once shared how his friend wouldn't stop bragging after getting a girlfriend. Wakaba laughed it off at the time, until he added that he too desired a girlfriend someday. That moment struck her deeply. He had always feared girls, but now he seemed to want the kind of happiness his friend had found. That night, something shifted in her. She suddenly bought a girlish outfit, did her hair, tried on nail polish, and transformed herself. It was her first serious attempt at looking feminine, hoping that maybe, just maybe, he could fall for her too. But when she later discovered he had been excited about watching something ridiculous like an undead shark movie, she was completely stunned. In present, after school, Wakaba walks ahead, calling out to Daiki and urging him to hurry as he gives him an excuse to come along. Soon, all four friends are seated at a cafe. Ako, excited, admires her frap, impressed by how well it's blended, saying she could easily drink it again. But 10 minutes later, she shivers from the cold, the thick mixture proving too much, and Wakaba teases her for praising it so highly at first. Everyone is surprised Wakaba has finally come out with them. She smiles, explaining she had plans before, and even today she has something else to do, but still decided to join. She recalls when Daiki reminded her that he needed to stay for a school retest and suggested that she go home as well. Ako cheerfully brings up how Momo had been irritated every time Wakaba avoided going out with them. Wakaba smiles again, but Momo grows flustered, denying she was grumpy. The mood shifts when Ako reveals that Momo even planned to follow Wakaba to see if she was hiding a boyfriend. Wakaba is stunned, and instead of answering the boyfriend question, she questions their spying plan. Ako, a little worked up, explains how they were convinced Wakaba was hiding something, and despite trailing her, they found nothing and eventually gave up. Now she demands a straight answer. Realizing her secret is still safe, Wakaba feels relieved. She explains that Daiki is just her childhood friend. The others react in shock, wondering why she never mentioned this before. When she adds that he's a boy, they become even more curious, whispering questions about whether he's handsome or popular. Wakaba quickly tries to shut them down by saying he's just a longtime friend. Ako teases further, asking if that means he isn't cool. Wakaba finishes her frap, places the mug down, and calmly clarifies that she never said that. Pressed further, she finally admits Daiki is nice to her, tall, and takes good care of his younger brother. The girls exchange knowing glances and whisper with amusement. Wakaba suddenly realizes what she's saying and, embarrassed, hides her face, insisting she doesn't rate him that highly. But then, peeking from one eye, she quietly says he ranks 5th. Ako, now blushing and dreamy, says she wants a boyfriend too. She quickly corrects them again, saying Daiki is not her boyfriend. Ako then suggested getting a fluffy dog. Her friends instead teased her to get a boyfriend, since she is not a pet person. After a few more minutes, they all wave goodbye, promising to meet again tomorrow. Ako and Momo decide to take the bus. While walking toward the station, they're startled to run into Daiki, who looks completely worn out from his retest. Ako whispers to Momo that he seems exactly like the kind of guy Wakaba would be childhood friends with. The next day at school, Ako excitedly shares their discovery. Wakaba, caught off guard, listens as they explain how they ran into him by chance at the bus stop and recognized him. Ako even shows them a secret photo she took of Daiki holding a book. She is shocked and immediately scolds her for taking pictures without permission. The next day, when Daiki enters the classroom, he's puzzled to see Matsun hiding his face, lying across the desk behind one of their friends. The friend explains that Matsun has been like that since early morning. Matsun suddenly looks up, crying loudly, and shares that his girlfriend cheated on him and abandoned him. Trying to cheer him up, His friends teasingly offer him some chips, but Matsun shouts in frustration, demanding they stop enjoying his heartbreak. They joke further, saying the whole school knew about his relationship anyway, and it's even worse because the girl didn't even give him a proper breakup, just ghosted him after testing him like a free trial. Matsun, now fully irritated, scolds them for lacking empathy and declares that all he needs is a new girlfriend to heal. In response, one of them shows him a picture of the virtual idol Lily-sama from Siren Virtual, highlighting her amazing traits. But this only angers Matsun more. He wants a real girl, not a digital fantasy. Daiki, helplessly watching all this, admits they don't really know much about girls. That's when Matsun suddenly remembers Daiki's childhood friend, Wakaba. A few weeks ago, Daiki told him about her, describing her as tomboyish and straightforward. Matsun instantly grabs onto the idea and insists Daiki introduce him to Wakaba. He dramatically claims he doesn't care if she's wild or scary. He's desperate and willing to meet anyone. He throws his head back in theatrical sorrow, begging Daiki to help him. After school, Daiki stands on his apartment balcony, stressed and uncertain. He had agreed to help, but now doubts whether it's a good idea. Wakaba has always acted like one of the boys and treats him like a brother. He doubts she'd be interested in anything romantic. Still unsure what to do, he's startled when someone jumps up onto the balcony and calls his name. It's Wakaba, cheerfully explaining that the door was open, so she just came in. As she chats casually, Daiki avoids the real topic, but just as he's about to bring it up, he imagines a scene where Wakaba and Matsun are happily dating, thanking him for introducing them. He pictures Wakaba in a girlish dress, smiling brightly, and the thought sends him into a panic. He quickly changes the topic, asking instead whether any of her friends might be interested in meeting someone. Wakaba looks surprised, prompting Daiki to explain that Matsun just went through a breakup and is eager to start a new relationship. She's shocked at first but then smirks, joking that she might be a good match. After all, Matsun just needs a friend. Daiki, nervous, blurts out that he already scheduled a soccer match with her after school, so she won't be free. Offended, Wakaba shouts that he's never managed to beat her and now thinks he can set up matches like he's in control. Daiki avoids her sharp glare, while Wakaba blushes slightly, realizing his awkward nervousness might mean something more. Changing the topic again, Daiki asks once more if any of her friends might be willing to meet someone. Wakaba thinks for a moment and says that probably none would agree, except maybe Akko, but then she hesitates, asking if the consequences of setting them up would really matter. Daiki calmly reassures her that it wouldn't. Hearing this, Wakaba grins and promises to ask Akko about it. A few days later, on a quiet morning, Daiki curiously asks Matsun how the meeting with Wakaba's friend went. Matsun, flustered, gently holds Daiki's hand and says, with unexpected calm, that friendship is more important to him than dating right now. Daiki and the others are shocked. Even when they tease him, Matsun refuses to share any details, leaving everyone wondering just what really happened. In the morning, Daiki quickly gets ready for school. As he finishes tying his tie, the TV plays softly in the background. The daily horoscope comes on, with luck for Leos, but a troublesome day for Cancers, especially with the opposite gender. He doesn't pay it any mind, too panicked as he sees the clock. It's already 7:25. He wonders why Wakaba hasn't shown up yet, just as his phone rings. It's her. She informs him she won't be coming to school today. Daiki immediately feels worried. After school, despite feeling drained from the day, he stops by a convenience store, deciding to buy her some yogurt. But when he spots her favorite peach jelly on the shelf, he lights up and chooses that instead. He decides to deliver it to her before heading home, unaware that Momo happens to walk past and notices him. When he arrives at the apartment building, he wonders if Wakaba is still asleep. Just then, someone enters the elevator, and Daiki takes it as a stroke of luck and hurries in before the doors close. It turns out to be Momo. Daiki grows awkward, standing silently beside her. He notices that the 7th floor button is already pressed. He didn't touch it. This puzzles him. He thought only Wakaba lived on that floor. Is Momo staying there too? When they reach the 7th floor, Momo steps out first. Daiki bows politely but feels weird following too closely, so he chooses to walk slowly, letting her go ahead and enter her apartment first. Momo walks down the corridor, a bit confused as she checks her phone for Wakaba's apartment number. Just as she thinks about calling her, she turns around and jumps in shock at seeing Daiki behind her. Flustered, he tries to explain that he wasn't following her. He insists he lives on this floor too and only ended up in the same elevator by chance. But before he can finish, Momo nervously asks why he's following her, clearly alarmed. Meanwhile, inside her apartment, Wakaba notices Momo still hasn't arrived. A bit concerned, especially since Momo asked for her apartment number just minutes ago, she decides to wait for her in the hallway. But when she opens the door, she's shocked to find Momo and Daiki in a tense moment. Daiki awkwardly trying to explain himself while Momo looks on suspiciously. Realizing they don't know each other and that a misunderstanding is brewing, Wakaba panics. Unsure whether to speak in a more feminine tone for Momo or her usual tomboyish style with Daiki, she quickly throws on a mask and waves to Momo, who immediately recognizes her. She relaxes and thanks her for coming out despite being sick. She hands over a printout of tomorrow's test and, concerned, asks if Wakaba is feeling unwell. Wakaba coughs deliberately, trying to disguise her usual voice, and then calls Daiki over, again with a cough, as if signaling she's okay. Daiki, understanding the gesture, hands over the peach jelly and suggests she take a good rest. Momo agrees, both politely excusing themselves. As Wakaba closes the door behind her, Momo turns to Daiki and apologizes for misunderstanding him. He simply adjusts his glasses, brushing it off calmly, though inside he's still embarrassed, especially remembering the horoscope warning cancers of trouble with the opposite gender. Back inside her room, Wakaba smiles as she holds up the peach jelly. She remembers it's her favorite, and the fact that Daiki remembered makes her genuinely happy. It feels like the perfect treat for a Leo on what has suddenly become the best day of her week. The next day at school, everyone is surprised when Akko excitedly announces her sudden diet plan challenge. Their eyes widen not because it's a bold move, but because they all know it likely won't last even a single day. Still, they listen as she enthusiastically talks about it, while some of them exchange amused glances. Curious, Wakaba changes the subject and gently asks what made her come up with the plan so suddenly. Akko, practically glowing with energy, explains that summer is right around the corner, and there's no way she'll let her belly stick out of her swimsuit this year. She goes on to proudly detail her plan, while dramatically complaining about having to trade her beloved fried chicken skewer for just a plain chicken salad. Later at lunch, the group heads to the convenience store. Akko walks in with a determined expression, but it quickly shifts into confusion as she scans the shelves. When the others ask what she's looking for, she whispers that she needs croutons for her salad. They quickly remind her about her diet, and she groans, claiming she refuses to eat boring rabbit food. Wakaba, trying to support her, gently encourages her to stay committed, reminding her that sticking to the plan matters more than just one meal. Akko looks around desperately, but finds nothing satisfying. She picks up a cookie shaped like croutons and asks if maybe she can just eat that instead. Everyone laughs and teases her. It's definitely not diet food. Eventually, defeated, she sighs and agrees to just stick with the plain chicken salad. But when she gets to the counter, the cashier informs her that they're out of chicken salad. In that instant, her face lights up. Without a second of hesitation, she abandons her diet and cheerfully buys a fried chicken skewer instead, grinning with zero regrets. As the rainy season sets in, Wakaba grows increasingly irritated with the endless rain. Since they can't play soccer after school, she's restless. When Daiki asks about her plans for the day, she cheerfully suggests taking the long way home instead. As they walk, she suddenly lights up, excitedly pointing out their childhood park and the old candy shop nearby. Teasing him, she laughs about the time he peed his pants at that very spot on the way to kindergarten. Daiki turns red, shouting in embarrassment. Trailing slightly behind her, Daiki watches silently. He knows she's always loved rainy days. Despite being confused last Sunday when he saw her in girlish clothes with her friends, today he feels relieved to see the same rain-loving Wakaba from their childhood. Suddenly, she spins around and startles him with a teasing laugh, talking about snails, but his amusement fades when he notices how soaked her clothes have become. He panics inside, unsure if she realizes. Part of him wonders if she's just teasing again, as usual, not caring because of her boyish nature. But the memory of her recent girlish appearance makes him more uncertain. Trying to act natural, he pretends not to notice, but then, realizing someone else might see and stare at her, he quickly reacts. Flustered and red-faced, he takes off his jersey and hands it to her, awkwardly explaining that her clothes are wet and she might catch a cold. He adds shyly that he's only worn it once. Surprised, Wakaba doesn't seem embarrassed. She's already wearing a tank top underneath. Still, she blushes lightly and accepts the jersey, teasingly asking if it's sweat-free. When he repeats that he only wore it once, she chuckles and puts it on, her relaxed tomboyish energy putting him at ease again. Back home, as she prepares her bath, she notices her hair is totally soaked. Deciding to wash the jersey while she's at it, she gently scrubs it clean. But as she picks it up again, she pauses. It feels oversized on her, and as she presses it to her face, the faint scent of daiki lingers. Her cheeks turn crimson. She smiles quietly, thinking about how much he's grown. The next morning, she notices how sleepy and dazed Daiki looks at school. She assumes he stayed up all night gaming, but in reality he's simply tired from replaying the walk home over and over in his mind. She thanks him and returns his freshly washed jersey. Daiki accepts it with a racing heart. The fabric now carries the subtle scent of wakaba. Just then, her father opens the door, greeting them cheerfully as they stand outside. Daiki responds politely. As he walks off, reminding them to be careful on their way, Daiki stiffens in confusion. He realizes Wakaba and her father smell exactly the same. He doesn't yet know, it's just the fabric softener. After school, Matsukawa excitedly invites Fuji to have okonomiyaki with him. But Fuji, with a clever smile, politely declines, saying he needs to be online for his virtual idol, Riri-sama, who is about to reach 800,000 subscribers. He refuses to waste even a single yen on anything else, not when it could go toward Riri-sama merch or donations. Their friends gape at him in disbelief as he waves them goodbye. Walking alone, Fuji's stomach growls. The thought of his friends eating delicious, savory pancakes makes his mouth water. Still, he stays strong. He's determined not to spend a single yen, unless it's for his beloved Riri-sama. As he passes a convenience store, he hears a commotion, some girls shouting about price increases. Recognizing the school uniform, he realizes they're from Kusunoki High. Instinctively, he lowers his head and tries to walk away unnoticed. As an introvert, the last thing he wants is not to get involved with a real girl. His heart belongs to Riri-sama. But then, to his horror, this girl, Ako, calls out to him with a cheerful wave. She runs over, claps her hands together, and asks if she can borrow 100 yen to buy a drink. He freezes. Is she seriously talking to him? Before he can even answer, she pleads again, dramatically saying she'll die of thirst otherwise and promises to pay him back. Internally, he screams that this money is reserved only for Riri-sama, but before he can resist, his hands move on their own. He gives her the coin. Ako thanks him with a bright smile and happily waves goodbye. As she disappears, Fuji stands frozen, gripping his head in anxiety. He worries someone might have seen the whole thing, that he, a loyal virtual fan, just got tricked by a real-life girl. He groans helplessly, overwhelmed by the betrayal of his own actions. The next day, he excitedly tells his friends about what happened, laughing nervously that it was just 100 yen, no big deal. But they immediately start teasing him, accusing him of cheating on his one true love, Riri-sama. They joke that he broke his own code and helped a girl he can't even touch. Fuji, flustered, opens his mouth to argue, but then everyone's attention turns toward the window. A crowd begins forming. Curious, Fuji peeks outside, only to freeze in shock. Ako is standing right there, and she's surrounded by a group of her friends. He wonders if she's actually come to return the money, but he's completely thrown off by the unexpected audience. Unbeknownst to them, Wakaba is hiding behind a wall nearby, panicking that Daiki might see her surrounded by such girly friends, something she's never explained to him. Back outside, Ako spots Fuji and points him out to her friends. One of them, Nishi, giggles and says he's kind of cute. Fuji panics. Thinking fast, he looks at Matsukawa, the only friend bold enough to handle girls, hoping he'll step in and distract them so he can escape. But Matsukawa has already noticed Ako, the moment he recalls their previous encounter, where she casually told him she's so bored of this neighborhood that she even stopped watching movies. He breaks into a cold sweat. Traumatized, he makes a dramatic excuse and dashes away, saying he has urgent business in the classroom. Now it's just Fuji and Daiki. Fuji, stunned by Matsukawa's betrayal, turns to Daiki for help, but Daiki, recognizing another girl, Momo, from the group is already panicking. He remembers the awkward moment in front of Wakaba's apartment when Momo mistook him for a creeper. Still traumatized, he apologizes quickly and sneaks off toward the back gate, saying he has important errands. Fuji, left alone, calls out desperately for his friends, but they're gone. Just as his anxiety peaks, Ako suddenly appears behind him. Cheerfully, she thanks him for the 100 yen, pays him back, and even hands him a delicious snack as a reward. Fuji stands there, stunned, snack in hand, unsure whether he's been rewarded or defeated. The next day at school, Matsu returns the manga novel to Fuji after finishing it. Daiki, who has also read it, joins the conversation, and soon the three of them start discussing the story's uniqueness. Matsu seems visibly moved by the part about the childhood friend, which leads Fuji to calmly share a deeper truth about the story, that the childhood friend often ends up losing. Daiki, startled by Fuji's words, grows uneasy. He nervously asks for more context, clearly troubled. Fuji explains how childhood friends, confident in the time they spend together, often delay confessing their true feelings, believing there's always time. But when the main protagonist or a rival enters, that delay becomes their downfall. The explanation hits Daiki harder than he expected. He doesn't want to lose her, Wakaba, but it worries him even more that she always beats him at everything: sports, jokes, even teasing. Just that morning, back at school, she had beaten him again and smugly pushed her school bag into his arms, expecting him to carry it. Now walking behind her, Daiki silently watches her back, a knot tightening in his chest. He worries not just about losing to her again, but about the thought of losing her completely. A few days later, as Daiki's birthday approaches, Wakaba starts to feel nervous. In their childhood, since both of them shared birthdays close together, their parents used to arrange a joint party. Then, during middle school, they drifted into their friend groups and just exchanged snacks without making a big deal. But now things feel different. She wants to give him something girlish, maybe thoughtful, but her mind spins when she remembers how, just a few days ago, he blurted out that he needs a girlfriend. The idea makes her uneasy. She's scared that if she acts too feminine, he might get embarrassed and act distant or worse, brush it off and go home with an excuse like soccer would ruin her socks. His offhand remarks confuse her even more. She thinks about baking him cookies, but quickly rejects it. She's not good at cooking. She also considers buying him clothes, but realizes she doesn't even know his size. That frustrates her. She scolds herself for not noticing even when she had his jersey once. After a long cycle of doubts and overthinking, her face burning with anxiety, she finally decides she'll ask him directly. So on his birthday, after school, she scolds him playfully for showing up late, then suddenly suggests they go shopping instead of playing soccer. It feels out of character, skipping their usual after-school routine, and Daiki stares at her, confused, thinking maybe she's hungry. He doesn't even realize it's his birthday. In fact, he's surprised no one at school mentioned it at all. But then again, he can't even remember his friends' birthdays either. As he tries to stop her from doing anything unnecessary, she reminds him that her birthday is coming up too. That shuts him up. With that, they head to the mall. They wander through a few shops and eventually stop for lunch. Over the meal, she suddenly gets inspired and buys him a small gift, wrapping it carefully before handing it to him with a bright smile. Later, when they arrive back at their apartment building, they wave goodbye, and Daiki thanks her, sincerely, for the gift. As she enters her home, she turns around with a teasing grin, telling him to get ready to spend money on her birthday next. He agrees with a light laugh. Inside his apartment, Daiki sets the wrapped gift on his table, still flustered, wondering whether it'll be a date. Meanwhile, as Wakaba steps into her apartment, she's stunned to find her older sister unexpectedly at home. When she starts teasing her about her blushing face and cheerful mood, Wakaba, with embarrassment, shouts at her to shut up. On the day of the school sports event, Wakaba plays exceptionally well and helps her team win. Everyone appreciates her athletic skills and praises her for the amazing performance. When she later asks her friends about their own games, Momo sadly shares that they didn't get a chance to play much. Akko feels lucky to have lost early, saying sports are not really her thing. To cheer things up, she suggests they go watch the boys' basketball game, which is still ongoing. Arriving at the court, a large crowd of girls is seen cheering for one player. Sakuraba stands out due to his height and skills, easily scoring goals. The crowd becomes louder each time he makes a move. Seeing everyone cheer for him, Akko decides to join in and begins calling him a nickname while clapping. Wakaba mentions that other boys should be cheered for too, but Akko feels more excited joining the loud crowd. Momo quietly suggests to consider the situation again. After the boys' team wins the game, Akko suggests getting drinks as she feels thirsty. Before they can leave, Sakuraba approaches and congratulates Wakaba and Shina for their impressive soccer performance. He apologizes to Akko for her volleyball loss and gives friendly words. He then compliments Wakaba's final goal that led to her team's victory and says he regrets missing it. He asks her to inform him next time if there's another match, explaining it would be too awkward to ask others himself. As he walks away smiling and waving, Akko and Momo exchange curious glances. Both seem surprised at how the conversation went. The way Sakuraba shows special attention to Wakaba becomes a topic of quiet teasing between them. Wakaba explains softly that he was just being kind. When Akko asks about her type of person, Wakaba mentions someone with no knowledge of sports, surprising both her friends. During the boys' dodgeball match, Fuji passes the ball to Matsukawa, who throws it quickly. The ball bounces and heads straight toward Daiki. He raises his hands confidently to catch it, but it hits him directly in the face, knocking his glasses off. His team loses the game, and others start shouting in frustration at the poor performance. Later on the home, Wakaba keeps laughing while teasing Daiki about the ball hitting his face. He grows annoyed, especially when she jokes about his lack of athletic ability, making it harder to get a girlfriend. He tries to brush it off, but she continues to tease with a grin, suggesting that if he looks around, he might still find someone who matches his personality. Her final remark about him being unathletic causes more frustration, as he knows she's strong in every sport. The next day, everyone in class feels puzzled when Watson sits with an annoyed, helpless look. Summer vacation is nearing, and he clearly doesn't want to start it without having a girlfriend. When the others ignore his frustration, he suddenly raises his voice, accusing them of wasting their time and imagining how they will end up spending lonely days at beaches or in the mountains. Daiki casually suggests they should all go out somewhere, but Fuji quickly refuses, saying he hates bugs. Matsukawa becomes irritated and claims he wants to increase his school reputation by going on a trip with a girl, hoping it will boost his status since none of them currently have a girlfriend. Their bickering turns into louder teasing until Matsukawa throws an insult and tells everyone to go to hell. Despite the tension, the group continues teasing him about his plan to level up by getting a girlfriend, until he finally snaps and tells them all to stop. Meanwhile, Daiki becomes lost in thought, wondering about Wakaba's family and whether they plan to go somewhere during the summer. In the classroom, Akko bursts in excitedly and suggests that everyone should start shopping for swimsuits. The friends begin discussing what to buy for beachwear or pool outings. As they talk about possible vacation plans, either to the beach or mountains, Wakaba grows increasingly nervous. She hasn't bought a swimsuit yet, partly because of Daiki. But now she truly wants one, although her face turns red thinking about what his reaction might be. Her thoughts wander to her own family's undecided trip. After school, under the burning sun, Daiki waits near the gate. Wakaba arrives with a cheerful smile and immediately offers him an ice cream to cool down. After a few minutes of enjoying cold drinks, both of them finally feel refreshed. Daiki then asks about her family's summer plans, which happens to be the same question she had been wondering about during school. During summer vacation, both families always plan a joint trip, either to the beach or the mountains, depending on the children's majority vote. Last year, they stayed home because of exams. This time, feeling excited, Daiki suggests they go to the mountains. He becomes more competitive when he suspects Wakaba might choose the beach again, so he quickly pleads with her to pick the mountain trip instead. Since his brother is busy with exams, he wants Wakaba on his side to make it happen. Oblivious to her inner feelings, he keeps talking excitedly about fishing, hiking, and collecting insects. Wakaba appears annoyed, but finally gives in when he keeps pleading nonstop. Back at home, Wakaba sits in the bath, thinking deeply. If they go to the mountains, she imagines him spending all his time catching bugs and talking about insects. But if they go to the beach, where she could wear a stylish swimsuit, there might be a chance he becomes impressed and confesses his feelings. Later that evening, Daiki's mother finishes a phone call with Wakaba's parents. He eagerly asks about the trip, thinking it's confirmed for the mountains. However, his excitement fades instantly when his mother calmly informs him that Wakaba's family has decided on a beach vacation instead. At night, Daiki stands on his home balcony, silently looking at Wakaba's side, still feeling bitter from how she treats him. Wakaba notices and, with a smile, apologizes, explaining that she already has plans with her friends to go to the pool, so buying a swimsuit is for that, and going to the mountains would waste it. Seeing him still muttering sadly about bugs, insects, and fishing, she gets annoyed but then playfully suggests taking him to the insect museum instead. When he quickly refuses, she suddenly changes her tone and asks him to suggest a swimsuit style for her. Daiki freezes in shock. She insists again, saying her friend's choices don't suit her and she wants something picked by someone else. Though his mind is filled with panic, remembering how he was teased in middle school for choosing female characters in games, He tries not to let that show. He believes she's just asking so she can tease him later. As he struggles, he thinks about how all his friends usually only talk about girls in short skirts, and with all the confusion in his head, he ends up blurting out bug print. Wakaba looks puzzled at this strange choice. Later, Daiki sits in his room, annoyed and holding his head in both hands, questioning why he said something so weird. Meanwhile, in the market, all the girls browse and choose swimsuits. Wakaba stands puzzled and frustrated, thinking about his bug print suggestion. Akko notices and jokes what if she plans to buy something like a praying mantis pattern to grab attention. Wakaba explains she wants something for the beach, but still feels stuck with mountain thoughts. She looks around and finds only childish bug prints like ladybug and dragonfly, mostly meant for grade school kids. Annoyed and embarrassed, she quietly curses Daiki in her head for giving such a weird idea. As summer vacation begins, all the girls gather to see a horror movie. Momo feels extremely scared by the dark and eerie scenes, while Wakaba grows increasingly bored. Despite the decent characters, she finds the story pointless and dull. After the movie ends, Wakaba steps out, still annoyed by the wasted time. She wants to rant about it, but since she was invited by the others, she holds back. Instead, they decide to grab something to eat together. Later that night at home, Wakaba stands on her balcony, asking if he has seen the movie. She explains she watched it with friends and claims it was so scary that she wants to see it again with him. In truth, she didn't find it scary at all, but just wanted an excuse to watch it with him. Daiki, confused about whether she's really scared or not, agrees to rewatch it. While watching together, Wakaba gives him a mischievous smile, acting like he's her next victim, while Daiki sits beside her, thinking the movie is completely dumb. The next day, Daiki and Fuji arrive at Matsukawa's house. As they settle in, Matsukawa insists they listen to something important, but starts with an obnoxious fart. Both immediately shout at him in disgust, scolding him with friendly insults. Trying to stay serious, Matsukawa explains that the previous night, while his parents were out, he planned to relax alone and watch something on his laptop. Just as he was about to start, he heard a knock at his door. Panicked, he quickly shut everything down and pretended to be reading manga. But after a few minutes, no one opened the door, and he realized, confused and unsettled, that his parents weren't even home. Seeing no reaction from Daiki or Fuji, he asks if they aren't creeped out. They casually tell him his gross behavior numbed any sense of tension. Frustrated, Matsukawa stresses that his parents are out again tonight, and he wants them to stay over with him. Both quickly come up with excuses. Fuji says he has a live stream to catch, and Daiki claims his mom is waiting for him. Matsukawa begs them not to leave, but Fuji teases him to just hide under the blanket. When he tries to block the door, Daiki tricks him by pretending to head to the bathroom, then quietly slips out the front door. As the day passes, Daiki feels increasingly helpless. It's already July 19th, and Wakaba's birthday is near. He recalls how she treated their previous outing like a date, yet even now leaves all the birthday planning up to him. He becomes confused, thinking about her occasionally girlish behavior and wondering if she's just pretending to tease him. Unsure of what she truly expects, he decides to do something amazing for her. He thinks soccer is her favorite, so he considers buying her something related to that. But doubting whether it would actually make her happy, he feels stuck again. Believing his two friends are useless in this matter, he chooses to ask help from only one person. Now standing outside the kids' school, he sees Wakaba's little sister waving goodbye to her friends. As she approaches, he casually asks if she's going home. Blushing a little, she teases him, asking if he has nothing better to do or if he's here to surprise her sister. He hesitates since he only talks to Wakaba as a friend, not her sister. Trying to shift the topic, he awkwardly brings up their closing ceremony, explaining that because of different school schedules, they hardly ever meet. She teases him again, accusing him of being dishonest. Eventually, he directly asks whether she has any surprise plan for her sister's birthday. She first denies it, but then quickly realizes the truth and scolds him for being so pathetic, saying he doesn't even have the courage to pick one gift for Wakaba by himself. Though annoyed, Daiki is surprised when she suddenly smiles and cleverly agrees to help him, promising to keep it secret. But then she raises her hand for a reward, asking for money. When he refuses, she pouts and explains with a cute face that she also wants to buy something for herself. With no other option, he ends up at the supermarket. He is shocked when Mocha picks up a necklace, explaining with confidence that Wakaba is a girl. Of course she'd like this. He feels confused by this logic and ends up not buying anything. Instead, as a reward, he awkwardly gives her a cheap toy. Out of options, he decides to get Wakaba some soccer gear. On Wakaba's birthday, he waits nervously. She arrives late, wearing a surprisingly cute feminine outfit. She waves and apologizes, but Daiki, caught off guard by her appearance, freezes, forgetting his words. Though she had mentioned dressing up, he thought she was joking. Now seeing her like this, he's unsure if his sports gift will match her look. She asks again about their plans, and still puzzled by her elegant appearance, he blurts out that they should go to a jewelry shop instead.
Here I am,